So the way my service works is I have a minimum service call charge like a lot of services do. And if you have something that is worth it to you to complete and it falls within that minimum service charge and you want me to do it, then I'll come out and do it. And one request that I have had a lot is people that want different things assembled. And one particular Christmas, I had a customer that had purchased a lot of large toys for their grandchildren, and they wanted me to come assemble them so that they would all be ready to go for Christmas morning. So I completed that, and the next year she had me do it again. And also her mom called me because she had bought a toy that ended up being for her great grandchildren that she wanted to have assembled, which ended up being this toy kitchen. And so the plan was set up for me to go to her granddaughter's house and set up this toy kitchen. This was going to be a surprise for her child. And so this began with me setting up tables up in their playroom to get ready to assemble this. And setting up tables has been something that I have really learned over time is a huge benefit to do because it solves so many problems in the assembly process. The other thing that I'll do is I'll put moving blankets on the top of them for a couple of reasons. One is it will prevent screws from being able to roll off the table and get lost. Also, the items that you're assembling are brand new, and so it keeps them from being scratched or dinged or having anything happen to the finish of the item. Whenever you're assembling something like this, there's always kind of the same story that happens where you get the box open and you start taking out the parts and pieces, and as you continue doing that, you continue to get more and more concerned about how many parts and pieces there still seem to be coming out of that box. And then you reach the next level where there's this box within the box, and you open that up, and then there are a ton of small parts and pieces as well. And so this is kind of the place I found myself in when I was getting ready to put this together. So the first thing I always do is get as much of the packaging out of the way as possible. And then these individual pieces, I spread them out as much as possible as well. I lean them up against walls and all around me so that they'll be very easy to get to, as opposed to stacking them up, which can risk scratching them as you're getting through them. But as you're going through the instructions, you really need to have a very easy eye view of the piece, because even when they're all there and ready and available, they can still be difficult to find the right piece and keep the process going. And especially when you're getting started with this, it really is important to slow down and just go step by step and make sure that you're using the right screws, because so many of these pieces can look similar. And if you don't slow down and make sure you're getting the right part, it's so easy to get near the end of the install and find out you used the wrong parts, and maybe certain screws are not actually going to work the way that they should, and you find out the screws you now have left were wrong, they're not going to work, and you have to go back and start taking things apart. In this particular case, I was able to just go through every step, get everything done, and not have any hiccups along the way. But I went from beginning to end. I took no breaks. I didn't even go to the bathroom, and I just followed every step as it needed to be completed. And even getting everything done with no hiccups or problems, it was a 3-hour process just to make this happen. So that means if I did make some kind of mistake, or maybe more than one type of mistake, that could add on another 30 minutes to an hour into the time because of having to take things apart and putting things back together, finding out where you went wrong. And it's an interesting point to make, because something that I've learned that happens with these toys in particular is, because they're a toy, they have this attachment of simplicity and fun and lightheartedness that's attached to them. But the truth is, some of these toys, in this case is a good example, they can actually be more involved to put together than many pieces of furniture that I've had to assemble. And that's one deceiving thing about some of these things, especially something like this kitchen that has all these additional small parts and pieces that have to be screwed on and attached as well. Initially almost seems kind of funny, and I've made this mistake even when I first started out when I would quote these jobs, because like I said, you automatically attach that simplicity to it, and then you get into it and you start putting it together, and you start to realize, oh, wait a minute, there's actually more going on here than there would be if I was assembling, your average piece of furniture. So eventually, about halfway through, I started getting into some bigger screws. I started using the screw gun at that point just to make it easier to get the screws in faster. But I don't finish it out that way. I still will use the hand screwdriver to finish it, because these are all such fragile pieces that it's best to just hand tighten them at the end and not risk breaking anything or over tightening something that then causes it to not work, because that would be very easy to do on something like this using power tools. Also, at this point, I was now in a standing position, which brings back the point of these tables. If I didn't have these tables, for that first period, I would be hunched over on the ground in that body position for that long a period of time. The other thing that's happening is you're going to risk stepping on pieces, right? If you just don't really have anything organized and these pieces are everywhere, it would be so easy to step on one of these pieces and break that piece. And so that's another reason that I use these tables, just so that I can have everything organized. I can also have everything right in front of me in an easy working position. And it makes a huge difference in the experience of actually putting it together. It's another great point to make. Remember, even with all of these benefits that I have set up, the tables and the tools and all of those things, it still took 3 hours to get this done. So you can imagine if you didn't have some of those conveniences, not only is that going to change the way that you feel, how your body feels in these different body positions you're going to be in to put it together, but it would also make a difference in the amount of time it would take to get it done. So these tables really do make a difference. And when I was getting towards the end and wrapping up, the customer had actually come back. She had been gone the entire time and had just left me in the house to be working on it. And then she had come back and she was about to leave again and was just checking in with me to let me know that. And that is something I have found too with a lot of the work that I do, is the customers I work for will often have me just in their home and them not even being there. And that makes me feel good knowing that they trust me and are not concerned with me being there in the property. And the joke I told her before she left was, someone loves you when they give you a gift, but they really love you when they pay someone to have it assembled for you. Because at that point, she had been seeing, what this was taking just to get this thing put together. And we were kind of joking about it. So it was cool to see how she had not only received this gift, but also had received the gift of getting to skip having to put it together. And at the end of the day, being able to avoid those pain points that you don't want to deal with really is what my service is all about. So that's one of the things I like about it, is getting to experience all the different variety of reasons that people call me to use my service and come out and complete a job. I show creatives how to get paid to do jobs just like this so they can become their own funding source and have the money and free time they need to pursue their artistic interests. I break it all down at cashcowartist.com. The link is in the description.